What's up, Royal Oceaners? There are Beliebers, there are Cumberbitches, and now there are Royal Oceaners. I have decided it so. This is your new name. This is what I will refer to you from now on as. Just kidding, that's ridiculous. Okay, anyway, let's get started with this Q&A. You guys had a ton of questions for me. Thank you so much for asking them. I'm going to get to as many of them as I can. I'm not going to get to all of them, so if I don't get to your question, or if I didn't answer it in the way you wanted me to, or if you didn't see the announcement for the Q&A and you missed your opportunity to ask me a question, feel free to leave it in the comments below and I will do my best to get to it. No promises, but again, I'll do my best. So, let's get started without further ado. First question, I've gotten this countless times throughout the last year. Why the name the Royal Ocean Film Society? I can't tell you the amount of times that people have asked me this. People say it sounds like the title of a Wes Anderson movie or something. No, I mean, it's pretty simple and it's kind of dumb and disappointing. My friends and I have made movies for like the last 15 years or whatever together. And we were working on this big project a few years ago, and you know, like you do when you make a film, you have to create the title for your little production company, right? And we argued and hashed it out for like 18 months about what the name of our little production company would be, and finally we wound up settling on Royal Ocean, which was just sounded cool. And then when I was doing my channel, I just decided to keep that, and I added the Film Society bit just to be pretentious, or just dorky. Moving on. What kind of work do you do? How did you get into doing that thing? Did you have experience before you started it as a job? Okay, so I got this question and then the kind of generic question about whether or not I went to film school or if I'm self-taught. I'm going to combine these two together like magic. Okay, I am a freelance editor. That's my day job. No, I didn't go to film school. Well, actually, no, that's not true. The university that I spent my freshman year at, I was technically declared as a film major, and I took 2 classes, and it took me 2 classes to realize that I didn't want to be a film major. I mean, no, I consider myself self-taught. I learned, I don't know, I watched a lot of movies and read a lot and have made tons and tons of little short film projects and stuff for, you know, the last 15 years, and I just picked up things along the way and stuff. I mean, if you're wondering what I think about film school, I'm not one of those guys who's totally anti-film school and says, you know, you shouldn't go and stuff. I don't think that there's anything that you can't learn on your own that you would learn if you went to film school. That said, if you decide not to go to film school, I think there are 2 things that you risk missing out on. The first is the whole college thing. It's any potential connections that you could make for, you know, a job, which is what college is all about. But the other thing is something that I really don't hear people talk about a lot, and that's just simply a group of like-minded people, a group of people who are just as interested in films as you may be. I got really lucky because the group of friends that I already had is super interested in film and is into filmmaking and all that stuff, and so I was lucky, but you may not be. None of your friends may give a single crap about filmmaking, and you may be left on your own, and that's no fun when you want to try and make a short film and you have to, you know, guilt trip people into helping you or whatever. But there's nothing that you can't learn on your own, but there are still benefits of going to film school, I think. What film has had the biggest impact on your life? Oh, geez. There's no one film, definitely. American Graffiti has had a big impact. Jaws. Following, Christopher Nolan's first movie. Also, The Dark Knight had a big impact on me. When I was in college, I watched the Up series by Michael Apted. If you haven't seen them, I really highly recommend them. People love to hate on it, but The Tree of Life came at me at a really, really important time, and that I don't know, I needed that one, you know, in a pretentious kind of way. Favorite movies of 2016? Well, it's a boring answer, but like everybody else, La La Land. La La Land was so much fun and was inspiring and was incredibly well made and exciting and whatever else you want to say, I completely agree with. I thought it was an amazing movie. Other than that, what did I think was good? Midnight Special was really good. No one saw it, and I was disappointed because it is Jeff Nichols' best film. It was tons better than Loving. Kubo and the Two Strings, fantastic. Certain Women by Kelly Reichardt, or however you say her name. I don't know. That was good. 10 Cloverfield Lane was way better than it should have been. I mean, seriously, fantastic movie. It had no right being as good as it was. Favorite hidden gem movie? That's a tough question, man. I think if you would have asked me like 3 or 4 years ago, I would have said Following, the Christopher Nolan movie, but that's on Criterion now, and more people have seen it. Before, nobody had seen it, nobody knew about it, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, Christopher Nolan is great, but then I was the only one who had seen Following. Now, you know what? Okay, I got one. There's a movie from the 50s by Stanley Kramer called On the Beach with Gregory Peck and Fred Astaire. It's this movie, it's this kind of like post-apocalyptic thing. It was a massive flop when it came out, but if you haven't seen it and if you don't know anything about it, just check it out. Don't read anything about it. It's a fantastic movie. Are you planning on making any more short films? Oh, you'll have to wait and see. Next question. What is the coolest experience you've had in a theater? Well, I can tell you about the worst experience I've had in a theater. The best, jeez. Seeing Interstellar on IMAX 70mm, that was a fun time. I went out with some friends to see that, and it was just fantastic. The worst, though, I will tell you, one of the worst movie experiences I've ever had was Star Wars: The Force Awakens. It was like I was in somebody's living room. I mean, like there are these like old farts behind me, just like chatting away, and like, well, and they're just like everything that they see in the screen. It's like, who's that? What is he? What did he say? What? And I just wanted to scream. It was a nightmare. What other YouTube channels on film or film essay channels do you enjoy, and who are the film critics whose opinion you value the most? If we're just talking film channels on YouTube, Eyes on Cinema is fantastic. To be honest, I don't really watch a lot of other film essays. I mean, Every Frame of Painting is great. Channel Criswell is really cool, but I mean, I don't know. I don't really watch them very much, and I don't really watch anybody else. I'm sorry, I just don't. What film critic's opinion do you value the most? I mean, he's no longer around, but Roger Ebert was fantastic, and he was a big inspiration on me. Mark Kermode is my favorite film critic if I had to choose a favorite one. Robbie Collin is great. A.O. Scott is really cool. He's great. Michael Phillips is great. Yeah. Who gives you inspiration, be it directors, editors, writers, actors, etc.? Gosh, where do I even begin with that one? Richard Linklater is one of those guys who's really, really inspired me a lot over the last few years. I actually got to meet him last summer, which was fantastic. But I don't know, he's just, his attitude about films and filmmaking and the kinds of films that he makes, and I don't know, he's kind of just doing his thing, and he's, you know, he's a real relaxed kind of guy, very unpretentious, very, I don't know, he's just a cool dude. Besides him, Mark Kermode is a fantastic guy, fantastic critic. I will mention him multiple times throughout this video, I'm sure. But yeah, just a guy who loves film and who's really inspired me over the last few years. If we're talking outside of film, I would say, I mean, guys like John Steinbeck or C.S. Lewis, Neil Gaiman, Kazuo Ishiguro, all of those guys, I love their books. They're fantastic. Where do you get ideas for the channel? With so many video essays, how do you find things to write about that haven't been touched on before? Does it come out of research, or do you tend to stumble on ideas randomly? Where do I get ideas? That's a good question. A lot of times, it just starts out with a question that I have. Like, I literally just had the question one day, how do you edit an animated film? And then I go and I research that, and then boom, essay. Other times, it just simply comes down to a director whose work I want to talk about, or a movie that I want to talk about, or just an idea or a concept that I think is interesting. Second part of that, how do I talk about things that haven't been talked about before? I mean, that kind of touches on why I got into these video essays in the first place. If you go onto YouTube and you just search video essay, you're gonna find a lot of videos about the same, like, 10 things, okay? It's Pulp Fiction, and it's Blade Runner, and it's Wes Anderson, and Paul Thomas Anderson, and a lot of that stuff is really good, but right before I started making these essays, I just kind of had the thought, guys, we can talk about other things. There are more topics than aspect ratio and one-shot sequences and Quentin Tarantino. I mean, we can talk about other things. We can talk about craft and form, and we don't just have to stick to dissecting stories and Easter eggs and stuff. And so, to be honest, it's not that much of a challenge to find things that haven't been touched on before, because there's just not all that much that's really been thoroughly explored on YouTube, I think at least. What do you think the future of cinema will trend towards over the next 10 years? What will happen with Marvel, DC, Star Wars, franchises, sequels, prequels, etc.? Do you think Hollywood will continue to dumb down movies for the general audience, or do you think something else? Wow, there's a lot to unpack there. I'm not going to make any kind of prediction about Marvel or DC because I really couldn't care less. I will say superheroes are not going to last. It's a genre. I mean, people have compared it to Westerns and how Westerns were really popular in the 40s and 50s, and then they disappeared. The same thing is going to happen with superheroes. It's just a matter of time. Where cinema is trending towards, I mean, I'm not going to make a prediction. I will say, though, that things are changing, and I think there are some exciting things happening, mostly with these newer studios like A24 and Annapurna who are coming in. Both of them are really, really great studios. I like what they're about. I like who's leading them. But even more than that, I really like the fact that you have Netflix and Amazon getting in the game and finding really unique and talented filmmakers and essentially just letting them run wild and letting them do whatever they want. So you have movies like Beast of No Nation and The Neon Demon and Manchester by the Sea. I think this is really, really cool, and I think that's going to affect the industry very much in the way that studios like Miramax and DreamWorks really brought on that new wave of independent cinema back in the mid-90s. Do you want to work in the movie industry and or make your own movies? Yeah, that's the goal. I didn't really answer that question before, and I'm not really going to now. But yes, I do want to make films. That's my ultimate goal in life. There will probably be some narrative stuff that comes onto the Royal Ocean channel at some point in the future. I'm always writing something, and I will be forever. But yeah, no, in regards to the channel, right now I'm just interested in playing around and experimenting with these essays. But be on the lookout, because something may happen. I'm not saying it will, I'm not saying it won't, but it may. How do you analyze films? It's actually kind of a complex process, I'm not gonna lie. What I do is that I turn a movie on, okay? I grab a piece of paper, I grab a pen, and I take notes while I watch that movie. And that's it. No, seriously, I just take notes, like that's it. There's no other way to do it. I mean, if you've never done this before, just give it a try. Like, take a movie that you know really well, sit down, grab a piece of paper and a pen, and just take notes. Take notes over anything. The cinematography, the editing, the acting, the writing, the music, whatever. Just take notes. I guarantee you that you're gonna see something that you've never seen before. It's that simple. I love the Wittertainment references. What is your favorite film with Jason Isaacs? Well, first off, hello to Jason Isaacs. And if none of the rest of you know what that means, you just need to Google it. My favorite Jason Isaacs movie, I have no idea. I really honestly don't even think I could answer that. I will say, when I saw Green Zone, however many years ago that came out, I had no idea that he was playing the role that he played. I had no idea that it was him. It's crazy. For someone with a rapidly growing interest in film but limited resources / money, what are some things I should do if I want to get into making movies as a hobby? Study films, watch whatever you can, read whatever you can, start writing screenplays. If you can, make short films. If not, then just study. I mean, honestly, with the way that the internet is, there's so little that you can't learn and that you can't teach yourself. I would say, here's one little thing I'll say about if you want to make short films. I see a lot of people who when they first get into filmmaking, they tend to fall into this trap of just buying up whatever the newest bit of equipment is, like the newest, a 4K camera or the newest GoPro or the newest drone. Here's the thing. Equipment doesn't make movies. Obviously, equipment does make movies, but in a pretentious kind of way, it's just a tool. If you don't have the background and the lessons and all of the fundamentals of cinema, then that equipment isn't going to mean anything. It's just going to be a pretty expensive toy, you know? I would say go back, learn your lessons, learn the fundamentals of filmmaking, go small, don't waste your money. What is your process of writing, drafting, researching, and editing video essays? How do you settle on a topic? I'd like to get started on my own, but the process seems insane. I'm actually going to do a video on my process at some point this year, maybe like sometime in the summer or something. But I mean, like I was saying before, it just starts with an idea, and if that idea is a question, like, again, say, how do you edit an animated film? I mean, all I do is I literally go to Google, and I type in those words, and I see what comes up, and that's where the research process starts, and then I go and I look up any interviews with directors and editors and so on and so forth. But if I'm going to do something about, like if I'm going to do a video that's on just a director's filmography, then it literally just starts with me sitting down, watching all of their films and taking notes as I go. And then again, going back and just looking up other scholarly articles and interviews and reviews and all that stuff. And then from there, I mean, it's like you're just writing an essay for a college class. I take all of my notes, I compile them, and then I, try and find the story of the essay, or I find my thesis within all of that. And then I, just write an essay. Once I have the essay or the script, then it's just grunt work from there. It's, recording the voice, cutting with footage, and then scrapping everything because it sucks, and rewriting everything. I will say that one of the things I try and do, though, when I'm in the process of writing a script, I don't just write it and then go to the edit and keep those things as separate processes. Is that even a word? Processes? Whatever. What I try and do is, while I'm writing the script, I lay out the footage that I know I'm going to use, and I try and edit like a really, really rough cut while I'm writing the script so that they can be kind of more connected in that they can influence one another. Because like I was saying, like I don't watch a lot of video essays, but when I do, like some of the ones that I've seen, there's this certain problem that happens, and honestly, it's a problem that I've even had in my own videos, and I'm always trying to work and be better at. But it's almost like there's a disconnect between the narration, like what's being said, and the video playing. It's like they're not talking about what's being shown, or what's being shown doesn't really reinforce or really connect with what's being said. It's like they're just two completely separate entities going at the same time. What I try and do is I write at the same time that I'm doing that extremely rough cut, so that doesn't happen, so that everything can kind of be really connected and flow together, if that makes any sense at all. Probably doesn't, but anyway, moving on. Okay, lightning round. Are you really a film society? Kind of, sort of, not really. What is a horror movie that has genuinely gotten underneath your skin? To be honest, like I don't really get scared a lot during horror movies. I will say though, there is a scene in David Fincher's Zodiac where, they've got the fake Zodiac on the phone. Spoiler, whatever. If you haven't seen this, I mean, come on. They've got the fake Zodiac on the phone. They're doing the newscast thing with Brian Cox's character. And Brian Cox is talking to the guy, and he's trying to get him to tell them, to get any information or whatever. And there's a pause, and then suddenly the fake Zodiac lets out that, screech thing. Scared the freaking crap out of me when I watched this.
Do you want me to talk to the district attorney?
Any films you used to adore that you look back on and realize they're not that great? Don't hate me. When I first saw Her, I thought it was awesome, and now I kind of think it's not so great. Favorite anime movie? Anything by Ghibli, and if I had to choose, I'd say Princess Mononoke. What will the next video be about? I don't know. What foreign films do you enjoy? Lots of them. What is your favorite Kurosawa film? Historically speaking, Kagemusha, but over the last year or two, it's started to become high and low. What do you say is a quintessential film that everyone must watch at least once? Space Jam. The film that most disappointed you? Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of Who Gives a Crap. What film do you feel is extremely overrated, also underrated? If you guys didn't hate me for saying Her, you're really gonna hate me now. Okay, overrated. Birdman, The Avengers, Breakfast Club, The Deer Hunter. Underrated. Here we go. You guys are really gonna hate me for saying some of these. Prometheus, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, Tomorrowland. I already did an entire essay about it. One more. Okay, so people have started to reassess this since Gravity came out, but I still think Children of Men is not talked about as much as it should be. That is, I mean, I think that's one of the greatest movies of the last, when did that come out? 2005 or 6, whatever. The last like 15 or 20 years, that's one of the greatest movies. What is your favorite musical? Singing in the Rain. Do you prefer to go to a movie theater or do you prefer to watch movies at home? I prefer a theater where no one's eating or talking. Where are you from? Earth. What do you say more, story or character? Character. What software do you use to record audio and what mic do you use? I use Adobe Audition to record audio, and I use a really crappy microphone I picked up off of Amazon for like $75. That's just absolute garbage, and that I kind of broke a couple weeks ago. So, favorite books about filmmaking and movies: Making Movies by Sidney Lumet, Hatchet Job by Mark Kermode, In the Blink of an Eye by Walter Murch, Disney War by James Stewart, but not that James Stewart. Okay, you know what? Let's go a little deeper though. I would suggest, if you want to do any of this, like if you want to make films, if you want to write films, if you want to write about films, if you want to make video essays, or if you want to write anything else, you need to read. It's very, very important. It's one of the best things that you can do. Read, but also don't just rely on books about filmmaking or reading screenplays. You need to be reading other things. Read history, read philosophy, read marine biology, I don't know, read whatever. First off, it's just good as just a human being and just for the life of the mind. But it's one of those things, the more that you add to your mental arsenal, it just means it's going to further inform whatever you're doing creatively in ways that you won't expect, but that are beneficial and that are fascinating, and it's just gonna make whatever you're doing so much greater because you're gonna have more to say, because you're gonna be well read. Anyway, that's my rant about reading. And finally, what is the last movie you watched? What is the last movie I watched? Oh, Dazed and Confused. That's right. Guys, I love you. Royal Oceaners, you're great. Thank you again so much for the comments. Thank you for 10,000 subscribers. Actually, it's like 13 now. Anyway, if I missed your question again, please leave it in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. Let's go forward and have a great 2017. Cheers.